Welcome to the tea table. I am so happy you've joined me today. Oh my, I was driving this morning up my road and suddenly the leaves are truly turning to gold and red and yellow. Oh my, absolutely stunning. Well, I'm so happy you've joined me. I debated on whether to do my tea talk inside, but as the sun shone and came out, I thought I have to have my tea talk outside. It won't be long before that will not be possible. So if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please, you can pause and come right back and I will be waiting for you. Well, it's autumn glory and red is autumn. And I saw these gorgeous nectarines that my husband loves, and I thought we're going to put them on the tea table. And a Cosmic Crisp apple, the best apple in the world. If you have never tried a Cosmic Crisp, they are relatively new within the last 5 years. They were invented in Washington State at Washington State University in Pullman. And I'm told it's a cross between the Honey Crisp apple and the Pink Lady. And so they're dense and they are so crisp consistently. There's nothing worse than an apple that's mushy. I love my Cosmic Crisp. I slice it very thin and have it with a little peanut butter sometimes for a snack. Very nutritious, and the apple seems so big and solid, I only need half or a quarter. Well, the tea table is filled with September glory. And this is a silver bouquet of feathers and the wonderful yellow, and usually they're brown, the cattails, but these are yellow, and this is my color. This yellow color, I always remember, it's a kind of a mustard. My mother seemed to always get me a mustard dress for back to school. And I think it's because my eyes are greenish gold and it brought the gold out. And I've always loved this color in autumn, so here it is. And I have a special tea cozy today that just looks like autumn. And I'll show you my teapot underneath. This is actually the kind of cozy. It has a hole there and a hole for the handle, hole for the spout, and so I could actually leave it on, which I will, but I want to show you my gold teapot. This is a very old teapot I have had for many years, and I can't even tell you how many times I've used this teapot. It's so sturdy and strong. It's not vintage. It was a modern kind of a teapot that I think I received as a gift for Christmas, and it's just so solid. And I have a special cup. And this cup, I have to tell you, it's someplace I have never been, but I long to go. It's in California, and it is Avalon Bay, Santa Catalina, California. And here is the picture of the famous building. I think maybe the Wrigley Mansion is there. And it's made in England, Johnson Brothers, so it's old. It's a vintage. They made a lot of things. But I have a friend who grew up near there and lived in a place called Venice, California, where they have gondolas. And he told me that it was the most wonderful place to grow up. They could snorkel and swim, and the ferry boats, And I believe from Catalina Island, you can look across and see Mexico. So someday I want to go there. And maybe you have been there. When we go to California, it's to see family and kids and grandkids. And so we have to plan it out ahead of time. And I'm going to pour out, and I'm going to leave this right in the tea cozy. There it is. Now, a special dear friend, one of the tea friends, longtime friend, Jana, the best pipe organist I know. She's accompanied us. We've played together for years. And she, for my birthday, I have to show you this. This is so cute. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's a little creamer and sugar that sit together. And it fits perfect. So, when, say you are bringing tea or coffee to someone in another room or in bed and you don't have a lot of room on the tray, well, this works very well. Now, I only take cream, but I know a lot of you, or I take milk actually in my tea. I take cream in my coffee, but half and half. But that is so nice. It fits. I just love when things fit and don't take up a lot of room, because we all find when we have tea parties, there is so much detail and the table gets so full, you can barely get the people around the table, right? Okay, well, this is a treat that I specifically bought for this tea talk. And because we're back to school, and I'll tell you what it is. It's chocolate schoolboy cookies. And these have been around for years and years. Back to school, it's an imprint of a little boy, probably a couple 100 years ago. He has knickers and an outfit and a cap, and at least 100 years ago. I know when my father came from Norway in 1923, he was 10, and he and his brother Gudmund and his sister Ruth, he was 10, Gudmund was 8, and Ruth, I believe, was 5. Well, they went to the grade school, and he told me the method was that they would put everyone that could not speak English in the first grade. And then once they learned English, they bumped them up to their grade. Well, that may have been a little humiliating, I don't know. But what I know was embarrassing was they had beautiful Norwegian clothes that my grandmother had made. And it was knickerbockers and tweed and woven sweaters, and I mean, probably just gorgeous clothing. But you know what they were doing. Kids can be quite mean, and they called them herring chokers because they were Norwegian. And I'm sure they had names for the other nationalities, but they all became friends, and my father spoke beautiful English and wrote beautiful letters and perfect spelling, and it's amazing how adaptable people are. And they all loved America. They were very thrilled to be in America. And you know, it's so sunny today. I thought I'm going to put my sunglasses on just for a minute to say, good afternoon, sun. I love you. And I'm so grateful for this sun today. And I know last week we had smoky days, and now that's all cleared, and I'm so grateful for that. Well, I think I'm going to try my tea. Oh, it's delicious. This is autumn tea, and I do want to reflect. I hope you all got to see the Queen's service on Monday. That was absolutely, the whole week was phenomenal, but that that was something we will never in our lifetime, or I don't know if anyone's lifetime, that was totally a once, truly in a lifetime experience. And what a beautiful person. And she gave us all so much. She lived a life that reflected God, love of country, love of her people, love of her family, love for the whole world. She had enough for everyone. And what an inclusive person. I believe that, I don't know how many billions of people watched it, but more than have ever watched one event. This is a record breaker on all levels. And I thought, well, the whole world went to church. And what a service that was. And the hymns she chose. The boy choirs singing "The Lord is my shepherd," the Scottish, from the Scottish Psalter, so beautiful. And then the Charles Wesley hymn they chose. No one can do the hymns like the British. And that pipe organ. And then when they went out and they carried her over to Buckingham Palace, they were playing the Beethoven dirges, funeral dirges. It was so healing. It was a tonic. I felt like this is the real world. This is God's world. This is the world God wants us to live in. I could hardly go back to watching the news. I thought, I want to see good news like this and fill my heart with good, happy thoughts. Not that it was happy, but it was such a completing of a life so well lived. We can all learn from her example. She is a mentor to all. This tea is delicious today. I don't know if you can hear my music, but I'm playing Corelli. I actually have all the tea things on a tray that is it's a commemorative tray from Queen Elizabeth from her 25th anniversary. I'm not going to take everything off to show you, but I'll show you at another tea talk. It's a very, very, very nice, beautiful tray with purple and white with all her insignia. Well, yes, we have schoolboy cookies, but we're going back to autumn things, and whether it's school or reading a good book. I actually am wearing a shawl today that, if you can see it, I'll move this teapot for a minute. This shawl is really like autumn. It's like a collection of autumn leaves. I might just stand up and show you, because I just think I love to wear the colors of autumn. And this is a Russian Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox cross with jewels in it. And it's called the burnished Eastern gold. And then this is a rose embossed necklace with the brushed Eastern gold. And I just thought, the gold teapot, the autumn leaves, and I found a purse that looks like autumn leaves. I think I've had this on the Tea Talk before. This is one of my favorite autumn purses. It's leather and it holds a lot. And what's in there? Oh my, another autumn scarf with the autumn colors. You know, you can't beat this autumn, the autumn colors. I love September. My mother used to say, God is taking out his paintbrush and painting us a picture. And isn't that true as the leaves turn? And so I found a journal. I have many journals. You do too. I know that people on this Tea Talk, most of you are book people, tea people. You love the things of poetry, writing. Well, this is a very, very special journal. And I've actually saved it. I'm going to try to put all my poems in it that I've written. And this journal, I actually got this at Barnes & Noble's a while back. They may still have it. And do you know what the cover of it is? The cover is the original first book ever printed in the world on a printing press, the Gutenberg Press. And it was the Gutenberg Bible. Now, it is in Latin. And I don't know if you can see the intricate. It's just a couple pages out of it. But if you look up the original first Gutenberg Bible, the art in the Bible is stunning. It's gold and colors, kind of like the Book of Kells. I don't know how they printed this, but isn't it interesting? The Gutenberg printing press came just right before Martin Luther and the Reformation, and it made it possible for all these Bibles that were translated into the language of the people for the first time. This was Latin. You had to know Greek, Latin, or Hebrew to read a Bible. And plus, there were no Bibles. The Bible, if there was one, it was chained to the pulpit. And only the priest could read it, and it wasn't usually even a complete Bible. The first Bible had been put together in the 4th century by St. Jerome in Bethlehem. And he had gone to a cave to codify. The decision had been made by the council, the church council. They had decided what the canon means text, and they had decided from Genesis to Revelation what would go in the Bible. So St. Jerome, he was a brilliant scholar, went to the cave and got all the manuscripts, original manuscripts that he could find, and put them together. Now that was the Latin Vulgate, and it is still used today in the Catholic Church. And that was the only Bible that anyone had until you had this beginning of John Wycliffe in England started. He was in the 1100s. He translated not the whole Bible, but part of it into a very Chaucer English, and a lot of the people were illiterate, but it was a beginning. He almost got burned at the stake for doing it. In fact, after he died a natural death, they exhumed his bones, burned them, and threw them in the river. That's how upset they were at John Wycliffe. They didn't want people having a Bible in their own language. And then you had William Tyndale come along, the most brilliant scholar, and is practically responsible for 80% of the King James Bible and the Geneva Bible. And those were called the authoritative Bibles, the Protestant Bibles. And he was burned at the stake, and that's why there wasn't 100%. There's only 80%. And then Martin Luther, at the same time, he knew Greek, Latin, and Hebrew, and he translated the New Testament and then the Bible into a written, codified German. There was actually no written German like we know it today. There was spoken, and he took it and made it the language of the people. And within one generation, people became literate. In fact, everywhere the Bible went, it made people able to read and write. Literacy. So I think this is very special, the first Gutenberg. And it opens quite nicely. It has like a magnet, and then it has just blank pages. And you can go through and put whatever you want in your journal. Start a journal. And then I brought something special. You have to have a good pen. Now this is a fun pen. This is a fountain pen. And it's got a feather on the tip. It has red ink on it now. I have some calligraphy red ink. And then I brought my special inkwell. Oh my. And here is a little shoe. My kids gave me once. It's a gold shoe for Mrs. Shoe. People used to call me Mrs. Shoe. There it is. I don't know if you can see it. And this inkwell is just, it's a real one, and you could use real ink. It would be fun. But I like having things like that at my desk. I think they're nice. I think they're inspiring. Put that right there. And I brought something else. I thought, I'm playing Corelli. I don't know if you can hear him, but Corelli is a beautiful composer, Italian, of course. He's a contemporary with Vivaldi and Pachelbel, and they are before Bach, before Johann Sebastian Bach. In fact, when you listen to Corelli, you'll sometimes think it is Bach, because you can see where Bach got a lot of his ideas. He just took this gorgeous music and took it to the next level. I just think the Italians have given us so much. You know, Vivaldi, they had orphanages. He was a redheaded priest, and they had orphanages, and he thought, I'm going to teach these orphans music. And he had a beautiful girls' choir, and then he had an orchestra, and people would come from all over the world to hear this beautiful orphans' choir, and then they would give money and it would help the orphans. Well, Vivaldi is the one who, of course, who wrote the Four Seasons, and most of you can recognize his work. And all of these musicians influenced each other, and that Italian school coming out of Florence and coming out of the Renaissance, really, the Renaissance gave so much, and it's a precursor. The Renaissance was in the South and the Reformation in the North, and the world changed, you know. And so I brought something along that reminded me of Renaissance, because when I see tapestries, you know, Italy has contributed a lot of brilliant art. Here's just a little tapestry. It's a boy and the girl's in the swing. It's romantic, very beautiful. And these tapestries, now, I don't know how they did these, but originally they were all done by hand. It's unbelievable when you see, now here's another, the same girl and boy, and he's sitting and she's playing the harp. Very beautiful. I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I've had these forever, but I thought someday I would like to put a trim around them and have them on a table. Now, this is very special. This is just a little part, and I'm going to talk about this on one of my tea talks. Have you heard of the Bayeux? And I may be pronouncing it wrong because my French needs a little bit of support, but it's Bayeux, Bayeux tapestry. And it was hand done. And this is one small part, and it is a knight on a horse. And this hangs in northern France. And I'm going to get all the statistics, and I have an actual picture of it, a paper, but it stretches like, I don't know, 35 to 40 feet at least in length, and then in width. I haven't seen it in person, but what it is, it's the story of William the Conqueror. William the Conqueror was from Normandy, France, northern France, and he was actually a Viking. He was. And he went to take the throne in England, and he conquered. And so it was such a big deal that this tapestry was created, and people did it by hand. I don't know how they did it, how they wove it. And the one part I actually gave to my son, is a picture of all of the men on the boat, on the ship, and they're sitting on their horses with their battle armaments, their shields. In other words, they just crossed the channel, the English Channel, and they're on their horses in the boat, ready to leap off and go to war. And it's just a fascinating study, and I will get all of the details, and we'll do an actual tea talk on that, because I think you would enjoy it immensely, and I will bring the other pictures I have. But when I think of tapestry, I'll tell you where I saw the most incredible tapestries in my life was at Hampton Court Palace. That was Henry VIII's palace near London. And I could not believe, first of all, the ceilings are probably 30 feet high, and the entire walls are covered with these tapestries. I mean, 35 feet by 35 feet, they are huge, and they were all hand done with needle. It's phenomenal. And I was still so struck. I said, how could they do it? How could they do it? Now we have machines. Everything is so fast, and we don't value things like, a piece of lace, real lace, 150 years ago was very expensive. It was like gold. A piece of special woven fabric, hand woven, would have been very expensive, because everything had to be made by hand. And I've read books about people that it would have been turn of the century. I remember Marie Ivanov. She was a Russian aristocrat who got caught. She got caught in the revolution. Her family fled, and her husband went to prison, and she got caught, and she had to survive. And she told the story that when she was a little girl, would have been probably 1904, she went to visit the grandmother who had sold all her jewels to buy land for the family. So they were very wealthy. And her grandparents had given their beautiful mansion to create a hospital in Moscow, the Sherbatovs, out of their charity and out of their heart. They were very good people. Well, she went to visit her grandmother, Sherbatov, and she was favored because the grandmother went to her trunk and pulled out this gorgeous piece of lace, and it was priceless. It was Venetian lace, because in those days the aristocrats would all go to Italy for their vacations, and then they would buy things like that. But we have to remember, these people had to walk on foot, or they had money, so they had a carriage. But the carriage wasn't comfortable. She talks about it. The air was close, and sometimes it could tumble over. The horses through the snow, the streets were bumpy. We live in such times of privilege. Sometimes I think we drive down the street sitting in our car. It's like we're sitting on a big couch just going down the street. Amazing. Well, get your journal. And I have a little bag that kind of reminds me of a back-to-school bag. It's red, and I'm going to put my journal in it. And I'm going to zip it up. And this is a bag I would wear on my shoulder and take along with me. And then I have my journal. And if I have time to sit, well, I'll write in my journal. Isn't that a novel concept? It's fun to write in your journal. You can think better with a pen in your hand. You really can. And we need to do this now because of all of our phones and computers. We need to take time to actually write and pause. And of course, have tea and a little chocolate schoolboy if you so desire. And wear autumn colors. I know you will already. I know a lot of you. You're just like me. You love color and you love the season, and it's red, gold, browns. We're so blessed. Well, I pray you have a good week, a happy week. Be strong, lift up a song, and write a poem. Go get a journal and get a good pen. Sit by the fire and have a cup of tea. Let the inspiration flow. Maybe write a letter to someone. Well, now I have to find something that is lost here. And I don't know where it went. There it is. Okay. And if you can find a tea cozy like this, I tell you, they're worth their weight in gold. I love when they have an opening here and an opening there because it stays right on. And when it's cold winter days, yes, it stays hot for up to an hour or two, brisk hot. Okay. Well, I look forward to having a good week, and I pray you have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And it will be October. Oh my. So enjoy the rest of this beautiful September. God bless you. Thank you for joining me today. And please, if you haven't, share with a friend, subscribe, push the notification bell and the like button, and then you will be notified of the next talk. God bless.